visit and the things he had to say about us. We were on a high, euphoric, congratulating ourselves on all sorts of things, some real, some imagined, some totally inconsequential. And then over the last few years, we've been bombarded with a series of revelations, starting with the 2G, then you get the loan, then you get what's happening now, then you told about Barca and about Veer Sangvi, and like everybody else, you just sit down and ask yourself, good God, is it all coming apart? Is this some mirage that we've been chasing, some pipe dream that we've taken joy in? Have we got no underpinnings at all anywhere? And then I came across this book, and just to put the record straight, Gaurav, I've read it too. It tells you the story of how a very simple family with nothing going for them except a dream started a business that they had absolutely no knowledge of whatsoever in 1960. You started off just because there was somebody who was a bit of a dropout, but who had a happy knack of grinding lenses. So I was just telling my wife, I said, the way this whole thing started, when Gopal wanted to start a business, his father was in insurance. There was absolutely no background whatsoever in all this. He didn't have the benefit of any experience or of age, thank God, because it's when you're young that your dreams find flower and take off. So they started this thing off, I think on a funding of 20,000 rupees. And the whole book is full of little stories, little vignettes, characterizing the way this whole endeavor took off. The problems that they're faced with the pseudo-socialism, that is what India prided itself on those days, but which really resulted in a license to steal, for corruption and everything else, because it's what we used to call the license Raj. Now you've come to the next level, where this gentleman with absolutely no background and with very little money, like he tells me, on one of these trips, he had to go to all over, Cairo, and then going on to, or starting off with Saudi Arabia and going on. And he says it was an astronomical figure because the total trip cost me 25,000 rupees. As you can just get from here to Delhi today on that. But still, he went there. And this is what's so wonderful about this book. He talks about developing relationships in different countries with people from different backgrounds, some of whom had had terrible experiences with people from India. And yet there was something about Gopal that made him or enabled him to reach out to these people. And you've ended up with people like Harun Mansoor, who gave him an order and then said, now that we have signed the order or we've agreed to this, I'll give you $10,000. Now, this is the sort of thing that I found completely unimaginable. And then he goes from there and he goes to Isfahan. He comes across Delavi, and again the same thing comes up. And what is he doing? He's telling them, I am giving you quality, I am guaranteeing you delivery in return for this very ad hoc way you're doing things now. Because you must remember, lens grinding in those days was based on red oxide or Jamna River sand. And all that you've got now is totally because there was this one man with a vision who was prepared to stand up and say, no, I am not going to compromise. Why am I going into so much detail? Because this is what the future has to be. It's got to be us with dreams. It's got to be a commitment to quality. It's got to be pride. It can't just be a question of making money. because any panwala can do that. It's a question of standing tall and taking joy in the fact that you are the product of a 5,000-year-old civilization. I was talking to a young businessman earlier, and he was talking about the way things are. Of course they are. But then you've got to ask yourself three simple questions. What is my dream for the future? A very easy one. Everyone wants the sky. The second question is, what does it involve? A little bit more difficult, because you have to sit down and introspect and analyze and all that. And then the third question, the clincher, what is the price that I am prepared to pay? And this is what's going to separate the men from the boys. I would like to suggest to you that we are now on the verge of making a mark in the world. All the indicators are positive. The only point very simply is that, do we have the backbone, do we have the commitment, do we have the involvement to stand up for what we profess to believe in? I think it's gone. We've been hypocritical for long enough. And if we say you're paying somebody to do something, or I elect somebody to do something, for God's sake, make sure he does what he's been elected for. There's no question of sitting down there and saying, TK, it doesn't matter. It doesn't work that way anymore. And in the ultimate analysis, you don't need to ask for advice from anyone. Because I've always believed it's a matter for you, your conscience, and your God. And on that note, it gives me great pleasure to release this book, because I suppose in a way it's a successor to Chashmi Wali Makan or Ghar that they've got in Agra. But it's been a long, tortuous story. He's taken on the system, in certain cases had to compromise, but he never compromised on his product or in his style of functioning. I salute you, Gopal, and your family for your contribution to everything. It made the dance more than being less than 64,000 or something.
Thank you.